The cashier's whisper broke my ordinary Tuesday. It was a regular Tuesday afternoon when I went to the grocery store. My cart held the usual things: milk, bread, a bag of cat food for Whiskers. Nothing fancy. The cashier was young, maybe 25. His name tag said Derek. He had kind eyes, the kind that notice small things. He scanned my groceries. Beep, beep, beep. The sound echoed in the quiet store. Then a hand suddenly grabbed my wrist. Not heavy, but firm. It was the cashier. His voice dropped low, almost a whisper. "You're Gloria Hayes, aren't you? Michael's mother?" I nodded, surprised. How did he know my name? His eyes darted to the automatic doors, then back to me. I shouldn't say this, but I have to. My chest tightened. There was something urgent in his tone. "Your daughter-in-law's family. The Langs. They come in here." I waited. The line behind me grew longer. "They're not poor, Mrs. Hayes. They spend like kings. Designer everything, top shelf. Liquor, lobster every weekend." My mouth went dry. "And the gambling," he added. "Everyone in town knows about Victor Lang. He throws money around at the casino like it's nothing." The words hit like ice water. "They're not struggling. They're living high. Real high." Then he let go of my wrist and turned to the next customer. As if nothing had happened. "If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from." I stood there, frozen. The automatic doors whooshed open. Cold January air slapped my face. Michael was waiting in his Lexus. Engine running. Heat on. He always kept it warm for me. He smiled when I got in. That tired smile. The one he wore after 14-hour days. "Mom, you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine. Just tired." But I wasn't fine. Derek's words echoed in my head. They spend like kings. They're living high. I thought about all those calls from Serena. The tears. The desperate pleas. "Dad's heart medication costs $6,000, Gloria. Insurance won't cover it. We're drowning." I had given her $3,000. My rainy day money. Gone. "Mom needs surgery. $8,000. We don't have it. Michael's working so hard, but it's not enough." Another check. Another piece of my savings. "The rent's overdue. We might lose the house. Please, Gloria. Just this once." Always just this once. But it was never once. Michael drove through the gray streets. His briefcase sat between us. Full of contracts. Reports. The weight of his world. He talked about work. A big client. A promotion possibility. His voice was hopeful. Excited. I barely heard him. Designer everything. Top shelf liquor. The casino. Michael pulled into my driveway. The house I'd lived in for 30 years. Small. Neat. Paid for. He helped me with the groceries. Always the gentleman. "You sure you're okay, Mom?" "I'm sure." But I wasn't. That night, I sat in my kitchen. The one light over the table. Everything else dark. I thought about Serena. Beautiful Serena. With her perfect smile. Her perfect clothes. She had charmed Michael from the first day. Swept him off her feet. I had reservations. Something about her felt wrong. Too smooth. Too practiced. But Michael was happy. That's what mattered. Or so I told myself. Now Derek's words wouldn't leave me alone. They spend like kings. The casino. I made tea. Earl Grey. The same brand my mother used to drink. The steam rose from the cup. Warm against my face. I thought about all the money. All the emergencies. Victor's heart medication. $6,000. Helen's cancer treatment. $7,000. The car breaking down. 3,000. Always something. Always urgent. Always desperate. But Derek said they spent like kings. The clock ticked on the wall, each second loud in the silence. I had worked 40 years as a nurse. I knew desperation. Real desperation. I knew the look in people's eyes when they couldn't pay for medicine. When they chose between food and rent. That wasn't Serena's look. Her eyes held something else. Something calculating. But I had ignored my instincts. Told myself I was being unfair. The tea grew cold in my hands. Outside, winter wind rattled the windows. The same wind that had blown through my life for 72 years. I thought about Michael, my only child, working himself to death for a family that might be lying to him. The thought made me sick. But what if Derek was wrong? What if it was gossip? Small-town rumors? I wanted to believe that. Wanted to go back to my quiet life. My simple routine. But the doubt was planted now. Growing in the dark corners of my mind. They're not struggling. They're living high. I went to bed that night with Derek's words ringing in my ears. The sheets were cold. The house was quiet. But my mind was loud. Full of questions. Full of fear. What if my son was being played? What if his kindness was being twisted into weakness? What if everything I thought I knew about Serena and her family was a lie? The darkness pressed down on me. Heavy. Suffocating. But in that darkness, something else grew. Determination. If my son was in danger, I would find out. I would protect him. Even if it meant facing truths I didn't want to know. Even if it meant admitting I had been a fool. The wind howled outside. But inside, in the quiet of my bedroom, I made a promise. I would learn the truth. Whatever it cost me, whatever it revealed, the truth would come to light. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, Derek's words echoed. They spend like kings. The casino. By dawn, I had made my decision. I would hire a private investigator. The thought terrified me. I had never done anything like this. Never spied on family. But I had to know. I started asking around. Quietly. Carefully. At the bank. The pharmacy. The post office. Everyone mentioned the same name. Doyle Investigations. They're the best, the bank teller whispered. Professional. Fast. But expensive. The pharmacist nodded when I asked. Top-tier work. They handle the big cases. Corporate fraud. Insurance scams. My neighbor Mrs. Patterson had used them 2 years ago. Cheating husband case. They found everything, she told me over the fence. Pictures. Bank records. Hotel receipts. Worth every penny. But the cost made me hesitate. $3,000 up front. $500 a day after that. More money than I spent in 3 months. More than my grocery budget for half a year. I sat at my kitchen table for hours. Staring at the phone number on the business card. Could I really do this? Once I called, there would be no going back. The investigation would uncover truth. Good or bad, wanted or unwanted. But Derek's words wouldn't leave me alone. They spend like kings. The casino. My son was in danger. I could feel it in my bones. I made the call. Doyle Investigations. The voice was professional. Crisp. No time for small talk. I need to hire someone. For surveillance. Investigation. Can you come in today? We have an opening at 2 o'clock. The address was downtown, the financial district, where the lawyers and accountants worked. I drove there in my old Honda. Nervous. My hands damp on the steering wheel. The building was impressive. Glass and steel. 20 stories high. Doyle investigations occupied the entire 15th floor. The elevator ride felt eternal. My reflection stared back from polished steel doors. The reception area took my breath away. Marble floors, leather furniture, original artwork on the walls. This wasn't some dusty detective office above a hardware store. This was serious, professional, expensive. A young woman at the reception desk smiled at me. Perfect teeth, designer suit. Mrs. Hayes? Mr. Doyle will see you now. She led me down a hallway lined with framed certificates. Awards. Letters of commendation. Carter Doyle's office was corner space. Floor-to-ceiling windows. View of the entire city. The man behind the mahogany desk looked like success. Tailored suit. Confident posture. He stood when I entered. Extended a firm handshake. Mrs. Hayes, please, have a seat. The chair was butter-soft leather. More comfortable than my couch at home. Tell me what brings you here. I told him about Derek. About the casino. About all the money I had given. My voice shook as I spoke. This felt like betrayal. Like admitting failure. Carter listened without judgment. Made notes on expensive paper with a gold pen. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. If you want the truth, you'll get it. But truth isn't always kind. I understand. Our fee structure is straightforward. 3,000 retainer. 500 per day for active surveillance. My pension was small. But Michael was worth everything. I wrote the check with trembling hands. $3,000, half my savings. Carter tucked it into a leather portfolio. Give me 3 days. I'll start with Victor Lang. That was on a Wednesday. By Friday, Carter called. Can you come in? I have something to show you. The drive downtown felt endless. My heart hammered against my ribs. Carter's office smelled like coffee and cigarettes. Old disappointments. He spread photographs across his desk. Black and white. Grainy. But clear enough. Victor Lang stepping out of a silver Mercedes. Victor in a tailored suit. Victor walking into the Golden Horseshoe Casino. This was yesterday afternoon, Carter said. 2:30 in the afternoon. I stared at the photos. Victor looked nothing like a man struggling to pay bills. He looked wealthy, confident, well-fed. There's more. Carter shuffled the photos. New images appeared. Victor at a poker table. Chips stacked high in front of him. A glass of amber liquid at his elbow. Victor laughing. Head thrown back. No worry in the world. Victor sliding $100 bills across green felt. I watched him for 4 hours, Carter continued. He never left that table. Never counted his money. My stomach twisted into knots. How much was he betting? Hundreds at a time. Maybe thousands. Hard to tell from my angle. Carter pulled out more photos. Victor at the cashier's cage. Victor stuffing bills into his wallet. He cashed out at $8,000, Carter said quietly. $8,000. The same amount Serena had begged for. For her mother's surgery. I felt sick. Meanwhile, Carter continued, your son was at his office until midnight. He showed me another photo. Michael's car in the parking garage. Timestamp 11:47 p.m. While Victor was throwing money around like confetti, Michael was working. My hands shook as I held the photos. There's something else, Carter said. He pulled out a receipt. Coffee stained. Crumpled. I found this in the casino trash. Victor's dinner bill from last night. The receipt was from the casino's steakhouse. $250. For one person. Lobster. Prime rib. A bottle of wine worth more than my grocery budget. This is while his family is supposedly starving? Carter nodded grimly. I have more surveillance planned. But I think we both know what we're dealing with here. I knew. But knowing and accepting are different things. My son was being robbed. By the people he loved most. The drive home was a blur. I pulled into my driveway without remembering the trip. Inside, I sat at my kitchen table. The photos spread before me. Victor's smiling face. His expensive suit. His careless wealth. Michael's empty office building. Dark except for one window. My son's window. Working while they played. Earning while they spent. Sacrificing while they celebrated. The phone rang at 7. Michael's voice, exhausted. Hi, Mom. Just checking in. Long day at the office. How long? 14 hours. Maybe 15. We're closing the Peterson deal. That's good, honey. Yeah, the commission will help. Serena's family needs more surgery money. My heart broke. Even now, he was thinking of them. Planning to give more. Michael, maybe you should slow down. You sound tired. Can't slow down, Mom. Too many people depending on me. After he hung up, I sat in the growing darkness. The photos stared up at me. Evidence of betrayal. Proof of lies. Carter had promised more surveillance. More truth. But I already knew enough. My son was killing himself for people who saw him as a bank account. Nothing more. The next morning, I called Carter. Keep watching. I need to know everything. Everything? Everything. Because Michael deserved to know the truth. Even if it destroyed him. Even if it destroyed us all. The investigation was just beginning. But I could already see where it led. To heartbreak. To betrayal. To the end of everything Michael believed about love. But at least it would be real. And sometimes, real is all we have left. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Carter called me on Monday morning. His voice was different. Heavier. Like he'd seen something that changed him. Mrs. Hayes, I need you to come in. Today if possible. The urgency in his tone made my chest tight. What did you find? Too much to explain over the phone. Can you be here by noon? I drove downtown with shaking hands. The steering wheel felt slippery under my palms. Carter's office smelled like leather and success. He had files spread across his mahogany desk. Thick files. Sit down, Mrs. Hayes. This isn't going to be easy. I sat. The leather chair was expensive. Everything in that office spoke of success. Carter opened the first file. Papers spilled out. Bank statements. Credit card bills. Receipts. I've been digging deeper. Following the money trail. He pulled out a stack of papers. Hospital bills. All stamped paid in full. Remember the $6,000 for Victor's heart medication? I nodded. My throat was too tight to speak. The medication costs $12. Generic. At any pharmacy. $12. I had given them $3,000. Carter showed me another paper. A spa receipt from the same day. Serena spent $400 at a luxury spa. While you thought Victor was dying. My stomach churned. There's more. Always more. Always worse. Carter pulled out photographs. Serena at a high-end boutique. Arms full of shopping bags. This was the day after she called about overdue rent. I remembered that call. Serena sobbing. Begging. We're going to lose everything, Gloria. While she cried on the phone, she was shopping. The rent story was a lie too, Carter continued. I checked their property records. He showed me official documents. Numbers that made no sense. They owned their house outright. Bought it with cash 2 years ago. Cash. While they begged me for rent money. But that's not the worst part. I braced myself. My hands gripped the chair arms. Your son's house. They've mortgaged it. Twice. The words hit me like a physical blow. What do you mean? Carter spread out more papers. Legal documents. Michael's signature on every page. Serena convinced him to refinance. For home improvements, she said. I stared at the papers. My son's careful handwriting. His trust in black ink. The money went straight to Victor's accounts. Gambling accounts. How much? $800,000. The first mortgage. My vision blurred. $800,000. Then she convinced him to take out a second mortgage. For her mother's surgery and others. Another stack of papers. Another signature. Another betrayal. $600,000 more. $1,400,000. Gone. Beyond the two mortgages, Serena and Victor drained another $200,000 on luxury shopping, spa visits and European trips, bringing the total stolen to $1,600,000. Carter's voice continued, but I barely heard him. The room spun around me. The surgery never happened. Helen Lang is perfectly healthy. I thought of Michael, working 16-hour days, coming home exhausted, never suspecting. Mrs. Hayes, are you okay? I wasn't okay. I would never be okay again. Carter poured water from a pitcher. The glass shook in my hands. There's something else you need to see. He pulled out a manila envelope. Thick with papers. Forged documents. Bills that don't exist. Emergency expenses that never happened. Receipt after receipt. All fake. All designed to steal. The car repairs. The medical bills. The family emergencies. None of it was real. Except the money they took. I drove home in a daze. My hands moved the steering wheel. My foot worked the pedals. But my mind was somewhere else. Somewhere dark and cold. At home, I sat at my kitchen table. Carter's evidence spread before me. My son was being destroyed. One lie at a time. And he didn't even know. The phone rang at 6. Michael's voice, tired as always. Hi, Mom. Just wanted to hear your voice. Honey, how are you feeling? Exhausted. But good. The Peterson deal closed today. That's wonderful. Yeah, the commission will help. Serena's family expenses. They've had more medical emergencies. My heart broke. Even now, they were asking for more. Michael, maybe we should talk. About money. About family. Everything's fine, Mom. Just busy. Serena handles all the family stuff. She handles it, all right. I wanted to scream, to shake him, to show him the papers. But what could I say? Your wife is stealing from you? Your home is gone? He would think I was crazy. Jealous. A bitter mother-in-law. Michael, you sound so tired. Maybe you should slow down. Can't slow down. Too many people depending on me. The irony cut deep. The people depending on him were destroying him. After he hung up, I called Carter. We have to tell him. He has a right to know. Carter's voice was gentle but firm. You can try. But men in his position often don't want to see the truth. What do you mean? He's invested too much. Emotionally. Financially. Admitting he's been fooled means admitting he's lost everything. But he has lost everything. Yes. But he doesn't know that yet. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the papers. Michael's signature. Trusting. Innocent. Serena's shopping sprees. Victor's gambling binges. The lies stacked higher than my grief. The next morning, I called Michael at work. His secretary answered. Mr. Hayes is in meetings all day. Can I take a message? Tell him his mother called. It's important. He called back at lunch. 15 minutes between meetings. Mom, what's wrong? You sound upset. We need to talk. About Serena's family. About money. His voice turned defensive. Sharp. Mom, not you too. Everyone's always criticizing Serena. She's under enough pressure. Michael, listen to me. I've learned things. Troubling things. What kind of things? I couldn't say it over the phone. Not like this. Can you come for dinner tonight? Just you and me? I can't, Mom. Serena's making dinner for her parents. Family time. Family time. While they robbed him blind. Michael, please. This is important. I'm sorry, Mom. I have to go. Another meeting. The line went dead. My son's voice replaced by silence. I sat holding the phone. The dial tone buzzed in my ear. He wouldn't listen. Couldn't listen. The truth was too big. Too terrible. Carter was right. Men like Michael don't want to see the truth. Because seeing it means losing everything they believed about love. That afternoon, I walked through my house. The house Harold and I had bought. The house we'd paid for with honest work. Every room held memories. 40 years of marriage. 30 years of raising Michael. We had lived simply. Saved carefully. Never spent what we didn't have. Now our son was drowning in debt he didn't even know existed. The phone rang again. Serena's voice, honey sweet. Gloria, I hate to ask. But Mom needs another surgery. The doctors say it's urgent. How urgent? Life-threatening. We need $12,000. Michael's working so hard, but it's not enough. I held the phone away from my ear. Her lies felt like poison. I'll think about it. Please, Gloria. We're desperate. You're our only hope. Our only hope. Our only bank account. After she hung up, I looked at Carter's evidence again. The fake bills. The forged receipts. The mortgage papers. My son's life, stolen piece by piece. And he still couldn't see it. The truth sat in front of me. Clear as daylight. Ugly as sin. But truth without belief is just paper. And my son wasn't ready to believe. Not yet. Maybe not ever. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I didn't give Serena the $12,000. For the first time in years, I said no. The word felt strange in my mouth. Foreign. Like a language I'd forgotten how to speak. Serena called 3 more times that week. Each call more desperate than the last. Gloria, Mom's condition is getting worse. The doctors say we're running out of time. I listened to her lies. Let them wash over me like dirty water. Please, Gloria, you're our only hope. Michael is working so hard, but it's not enough. It's never enough, I told her quietly. What do you mean? Nothing. I'll think about it. But I wouldn't give her another dime. Not 1 penny more. The calls stopped after that. The silence felt like freedom. Then, on Friday, Michael called. Mom, great news. I found a way to help Serena's family. My stomach dropped. What kind of way? I took out a personal loan. Against my life insurance policy. $12,000. The exact amount Serena had begged for. She had gone straight to him. Cut me out of the equation. That's wonderful, honey. I'm sure they're grateful. My voice sounded hollow. Even to me. They are. Serena cried when I told her. She's so relieved. Tears of joy, I'm sure. The invitation came on Saturday. Heavy cardstock. Gold lettering. The Lang family cordially invites you to celebrate Helen's successful surgery. Sunday dinner. 2 o'clock. Formal attire requested. I stared at the invitation. Helen's successful surgery. The surgery that never happened. They were celebrating with my son's money. $12,000 borrowed against his future. I almost didn't go. Almost stayed home with my tea and my rage. But I needed to see. Needed to witness the lies in person. Sunday afternoon, I drove to the Lang house. The same house they supposedly couldn't afford. The same house they owned outright. Cars lined the street. Mercedes, BMW, Lexus. Nothing modest. Nothing struggling. I parked my old Honda between two luxury sedans. It looked embarrassed. The front door was mahogany. Carved. Expensive. A wreath of white roses hung from brass knocker. Michael answered the door. He looked happy. Relaxed. For once, not exhausted. "Mom, I'm so glad you came." He kissed my cheek. Led me inside. The house took my breath away. Not because it was beautiful. Because it was obscene. Crystal chandeliers hung from painted ceilings. Persian rugs covered marble floors. Gold frames held oil paintings. This wasn't a home. It was a palace. Serena glided toward us. She wore silk. Emerald green. Jewelry sparkled at her throat. "Gloria, thank you so much for coming." She hugged me. Her perfume was expensive. Suffocating. "Where's your mother?" I asked. The patient. Helen appeared as if summoned. She looked radiant. Healthy. No trace of recent surgery. "Gloria, dear, so kind of you to celebrate my recovery." I wanted to laugh. Or scream. Instead, I smiled. "You look wonderful. So healthy. The doctors say I'm completely healed." "It's a miracle." "Yes. A miracle." Michael beamed beside me. So proud of his generosity. So pleased with his wife's family. He had no idea he was funding a performance. The dining room was even worse. A table set for 20. China so fine it looked breakable. Crystal glasses caught the light like diamonds. Victor stood at the head of the table. He wore a tuxedo. Actual black tie. For Sunday dinner. "Welcome, Gloria. So good of you to join our little celebration." Little celebration. With a hired string quartet in the corner. I took my seat. Between Michael and a stranger. The stranger introduced himself as a neighbor. "Beautiful home, isn't it?" he said. "Very impressive. Must have cost a fortune. Especially after they bought it outright." I kept my face neutral. But my ears perked up. "Bought it outright?" "Oh yes. Cash purchase. 2 years ago. Victor was bragging about it just last month." Cash. While they begged Michael for rent money. The neighbor leaned closer. His breath smelled like wine. He was also bragging about the second mortgage they took on Michael's house. My blood turned to ice. Said they pulled out $600,000. Used it to renovate their entire house. I looked around. The kitchen was visible through an archway. Marble countertops. Professional-grade appliances. Built with my son's mortgage money. Victor's house. My son's debt. Dinner was served by waiters. Actual waiters in white jackets. Lobster bisque. Prime rib. Vegetables I couldn't pronounce. Wine flowed like water. Expensive wine. French labels. All paid for with Michael's borrowed money. I watched my son. He ate quietly. Smiled when spoken to. Never questioned the luxury surrounding him. How could he not see it? The contradiction was blinding. His in-laws claimed poverty but lived like royalty. During dessert, another neighbor joined our table. A woman with too much makeup and too much wine. "Helen, darling, you look marvelous. I thought you were having surgery." Helen's smile flickered. Just for a moment. It was postponed. Thank goodness. False alarm. The woman laughed. Too loud. Too sharp. False alarm. After all that fundraising. Poor Michael working himself to death. Victor's face darkened. He tried to steer the conversation away. But the woman continued. Wine had loosened her tongue. I heard you pulled $600,000 from that second mortgage. Smart move. Though I feel bad for Michael. Michael looked up, his fork halfway to his mouth. What second mortgage? The table went quiet. The string quartet played on. Oblivious. Victor recovered quickly. Smooth as oil. Just some paperwork complications. Nothing to worry about. But Michael's face had changed. A crack in his trust. What paperwork? I don't remember any complications. Serena jumped in, her voice bright, brittle. Daddy misspoke. You know how he gets confused about business matters. But the damage was done. The neighbor had planted a seed of doubt. Michael spent the rest of dinner quiet. Thoughtful. I watched him process. Calculate. Begin to question. After dinner, I found myself alone with the loose-tongued neighbor. She cornered me near the fountain in their garden. That poor boy has no idea, does he? No idea about what? About any of it. The gambling. The fake emergencies. The way they laugh about him behind his back. My hands clenched into fists. They laugh about him? Oh yes. Victor calls him their personal ATM. Says he's the easiest mark he's ever worked. The fountain bubbled beside us. Pretty. Peaceful. Bought with stolen money. Just last week, Serena was bragging about her Paris trip. With that boyfriend of hers. Boyfriend? Julian something. Handsome fellow. She takes him everywhere. Michael's money pays for it all. The world tilted around me. Not just theft. Adultery. My son was being betrayed in every possible way. The ride home was quiet. Michael drove slowly, carefully, like a man thinking hard. Mom, did anything seem strange to you tonight? Strange how? I don't know. Just off somehow. I chose my words carefully. They seem to be doing well financially. Michael nodded. His jaw was tight. That's what I was thinking. For people who need so much help, they live pretty well. He was starting to see. Finally, maybe you should look into their situation more carefully. Maybe I should. When he dropped me off, he didn't rush away. Usually, he was eager to get home to Serena. Tonight, he sat in my driveway. Engine running. Thinking. Thanks for coming tonight, Mom. I needed you there. I'm always here for you. You know that. I do. I love you. I love you too. He drove away slowly. A man beginning to question everything he believed. Inside my house, I sat in the dark. The evening replayed in my mind. The luxury. The lies. The neighbors who knew the truth. Michael was starting to wake up. The seed of doubt had been planted. Soon, very soon, he would want to know everything. And I would be ready to tell him. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The call came at 2 in the morning. My phone rang in the darkness. Shrill, urgent, the sound that means emergency. I fumbled for the lamp. The light hurt my eyes. Mom. Michael's voice. Broken. Barely recognizable. What's wrong? Are you hurt? I'm at the house. Serena's house. I found things. His breathing was ragged. Like he'd been running. What kind of things? Can you come? Please. I need you here. I'll be right there. I dressed quickly. My hands shook as I buttoned my coat. Outside, the night was cold. February wind cut through everything. The drive to Michael's house took forever. Every red light felt like punishment. His car sat in the driveway. Engine off. He was waiting on the front steps. Even in the porch light, I could see he looked destroyed. He stood when I approached. His face was gray. Aged 10 years in one night. I'm sorry for calling so late. I didn't know who else. His voice cracked. My strong son. Reduced to fragments. What happened? He led me inside. The house felt different. Cold. Like all the warmth had been sucked out. We walked to his home office. Papers covered his desk. Files spread everywhere. I couldn't sleep after the dinner party. Something bothered me about what that neighbor said. He pointed to a red leather ledger. Open. Pages visible. I started looking through our financial records, trying to make sense of the second mortgage comment. The ledger sat like an accusation. Neat handwriting. Serena's handwriting. Then I found this, hidden behind our tax files. I moved closer. The pages were covered with entries. Dates. Amounts. Lies. Every emergency was listed. Every fabricated crisis. Dad's heart medication. $6,000. Written in Serena's careful script. Next to it, the date. The date I had given them $3,000. Car repair emergency. $4,000. Another date. Another payment from Michael. Mom's surgery postponed. $8,000 needed urgently. Michael's handwriting in the margin. Loan approved. Page after page of fictional disasters. All designed to steal. At the bottom of each page, totals. Running tallies of their theft. My son's generosity. Calculated. Catalogued. Turned into profit. There's more, Michael whispered. He turned to the back pages. More handwriting. Notes. Plans. Next month's emergency. Mom's procedure. $8,000. Below that, in smaller text, if he resists, remind him of loyalty. Family obligations. A manual for manipulation. Written in his wife's hand. Michael's fingers traced the words. Like touching them might make them disappear. She planned it all. Every lie. Every emergency. Every way to break me. I put my hand on his shoulder. Felt him trembling. There's something else. He opened a manila folder. Mortgage documents. Legal papers. The second mortgage. I never signed for it. But there was his signature. Clear. Unmistakable. She forged it, he said quietly. My own wife forged my signature. $600,000. Stolen. Using his identity. His credit. His trust. But even that wasn't the worst discovery. Michael opened his laptop. Email program. Serena's account. She forgot to log out yesterday. Left it open when she went to bed. The screen filled with messages. Dozens of them. To someone named Julian. Michael clicked on the newest thread. Words appeared that destroyed everything. Serena writing about Michael. About his long hours. His endless work. He'll never notice the money missing. He's too busy playing corporate hero. Another message. Julian responding with laughing emojis. Your husband sounds like a useful idiot. Serena's reply made my stomach turn. He is. Pays for everything. Never questions anything. Perfect setup. Michael scrolled down. More messages. More betrayal. Serena describing their fake emergencies. Laughing about Michael's generosity. The mortgage money is perfect. We can travel for months on his dime. Travel. Together. While Michael worked 16-hour days. There were photos attached. Serena and Julian in Paris. Rome. Barcelona. All taken during her supposed family emergencies. While Michael thought she was caring for her sick mother, she was touring Europe with her boyfriend. He clicked on another message thread. Recent. From last week. Serena complaining about Michael's mother. About me. The old bat is getting suspicious. asking too many questions about the money. Julian's response was cruel, casual. Maybe it's time to cut ties with the family ATM. Cash out and disappear. Serena's reply chilled my blood. Soon. One more emergency should empty his accounts. Then we're free. Free. Like Michael was a prison they were escaping from. My son stared at the screen. His face was stone, but his hands shook. 3 years of marriage. 3 years of lies. His voice was hollow, empty of everything except pain. I never suspected. Not once. I thought I was helping family. You were being kind. That's not a crime. But it was stupid. I was so stupid. No. You were trusting. There's a difference. Michael scrolled through more emails. Each one worse than the last. Plans to max out his credit cards. Schemes to drain his retirement account. They had mapped out his financial destruction. Step by step. The final message was dated today. Just hours ago. Julian suggesting they disappear after the next big score. Serena agreeing. Already planning their new life together. A life funded by my son's ruin. Michael closed the laptop. The room fell silent except for the ticking clock. Everything was a lie. The marriage. The emergencies. All of it. I sat beside him. My broken boy. My betrayed child. What are you going to do? I don't know. How do you recover from something like this? One step at a time. He laughed bitterly. She stole everything, Mom. My money. My house. My trust. My future. Not everything. You still have yourself. Your integrity. What's that worth when you've lost everything else? Everything. It's worth everything. We sat in the quiet office, surrounded by evidence of betrayal. Outside, dawn was coming. Gray light through the windows. Michael would have to face Serena soon. Confront the lies. End the marriage. But right now, he just needed to sit. To absorb the enormity of what he'd discovered. His wife didn't love him. Had never loved him. He was just a bank account with a heartbeat. A means to an end. Nothing more. The truth sat between us. Heavy. Undeniable. My son had been robbed of more than money. He'd been robbed of faith. In love. In family. In his own judgment. The recovery would be long. Painful. Maybe impossible. But it would start today. With the truth. Finally, completely, with the truth. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. We waited until Serena came home. Michael sat at his kitchen table. The ledger open before him. The laptop displaying her emails. Evidence spread like accusations across the clean surface. I stayed in the living room. Close enough to help. Far enough to let him handle it. The front door opened at 7:30 that morning. Serena's heels clicked across the hardwood floor. Her voice drifted from the kitchen. Bright. Cheerful. Completely fake. Good morning, honey. You're up early. How was your night? I heard the silence. The moment she saw the papers. Her voice changed. Sharper. Defensive. What is all this? Why are you going through my things? Michael's response was quiet. Deadly calm. Our things, Serena. Our finances. Our marriage. Another silence. Longer this time. Then Serena's voice again. Still trying to control the situation. I don't understand what you're upset about. These are just notes. Notes about fictional emergencies. Notes about stealing my money. His voice was getting stronger. Anger replacing shock. You documented every lie. Every fake crisis. Every way you robbed me blind. Serena tried to laugh it off. The sound was brittle. Desperate. You're being dramatic. I was just keeping track of family expenses. Family expenses? Like your trip to Paris with Julian? The name dropped like a bomb. Silence exploded around it. I don't know what you're talking about. But her voice cracked. The lie was breaking apart. Michael's chair scraped against the floor. I heard him moving, turning the laptop toward her. Then read your own emails. Out loud. To me. The silence stretched forever. I could hear my own heartbeat. When Serena spoke again, all pretense was gone. Her voice was cold, hard. Fine. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Try me. I never loved you, Michael. Not for one day. Not for 1 minute. The words hit like physical blows. Even from the next room, I felt their impact. You were a project. A mark. An easy target with a good heart and deep pockets. Michael said nothing. What could he say to that? Serena continued, her voice gaining strength from cruelty. You think you were a good husband? You were never home. Always working. Always absent. Julian gave me what you couldn't. Attention. Passion. A real life. The irony was savage. Michael worked to support her lies. His absence funded her betrayal. And the money? Serena laughed. Actually laughed. You made it so easy. Every sob story worked. Every fake emergency got you to open your wallet. I heard something slam. Michael's fist hitting the table. You forged my signature. Mortgaged my house without my knowledge. Our house. And yes, I forged it. You would have said no. Because it wasn't your decision to make. Wasn't it? I'm your wife. I have rights. Rights don't include theft and fraud. Serena's voice turned mocking, vicious. Call it whatever you want. I call it survival. Marriage to you was like prison. Prison with excellent benefits. European vacations. Designer clothes. Luxury cars. All paid for by the man she claimed to be imprisoned by. The argument moved to the living room. I stood as they entered. Serena saw me and her face twisted with rage. Of course. The interfering mother-in-law. I should have known you were behind this. Behind what? Behind finding out the truth? You hired someone, didn't you? Some private investigator to spy on my family. She was right. But I felt no shame about it. I hired Carter Doyle. He's been watching you for weeks. Serena's face went white. Carter had photographs, bank records, evidence of every lie, all of it legally obtained. All of it admissible in court. Court? Michael looked confused. I've been building a case. With Carter's help. Fraud charges. Forgery. Identity theft. The color drained from Serena's face. You can't prove anything. It's all circumstantial. I pulled out my phone. Showed her Carter's latest text message. He's at the police station now. Filing the report. Serena's composure finally cracked. The mask fell away completely. You old bitch. You ruined everything. No. You ruined everything. I just documented it. Michael stood between us. His face was stone. It's over, Serena. The marriage. The lies. All of it. You can't divorce me. I'll take half of everything. Half of nothing is still nothing. You already stole it all. Serena looked around the room. Calculating. Planning her next move. Then her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her face changed. What is it? Michael asked. Text from Julian. The police are at his apartment. Carter had been thorough. Very thorough. Serena sank into a chair. For the first time, she looked defeated. How long have you known? I've suspected for months. Had proof for weeks. Weeks? And you said nothing? I wanted Michael to discover it himself. To see the truth with his own eyes. Michael looked at me. His face was grateful. Broken, but grateful. You tried to warn me, didn't you? All those hints. All those questions. I tried. You weren't ready to hear it. Serena's phone buzzed again. Another text. She read it and went pale. Julian's been arrested. He's telling them everything. Everything about the fraud, the forgery, the money laundering. Because that's what this was. Criminal conspiracy. Serena stood up. Her legs were shaky. Uncertain. I need to call my lawyer. You'll need a good one. She walked toward the stairs. Then stopped. Turned back. For what it's worth, Michael, you weren't a bad husband. Just a boring one. Even her apology was cruel. After she left, Michael and I sat in the wreckage of his marriage. The house felt empty, hollow, like something had died inside it. What happens now? He asked. Now we let the lawyers handle it. The police. The courts. And after that? After that, you rebuild. Piece by piece. Day by day. My phone rang. Carter's name on the screen. The charges are filed. Fraud, forgery, conspiracy. Both of them. How long before trial? Months. Maybe a year. But the evidence is solid. Michael listened to my end of the conversation. His face was grim. When I hung up, he looked at me. Will you stay with me? Through all this? I'm your mother. I'm not going anywhere. We sat together in his ruined house. Planning his resurrection. It would take time. Money he didn't have. Strength he'd have to find. But it would happen. Because sometimes, losing everything is the only way to save yourself. And sometimes, the truth is the only thing worth keeping. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The trial lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of sitting in hard courtroom chairs. Listening to lawyers dissect my son's life. Michael sat beside me every day. His face carved from stone. His hands folded in his lap. Serena and her family sat across the aisle. A world away from us now. The prosecutor was a young woman named Sarah Chen. Sharp. Focused. She believed in justice. She laid out the evidence piece by piece. Like building a wall of truth. The forged signatures. The fake emergencies. The stolen mortgage money. Carter testified for 2 hours. His photographs covered every screen in the courtroom. Victor at the poker tables. Serena in Paris with Julian. The luxury they bought with Michael's future. The defense lawyer tried to paint it as a misunderstanding. A family dispute blown out of proportion. But the numbers didn't lie. The documents didn't lie. $1,600,000. Stolen. Documented. Proven. Serena took the stand on the second week. She wore a conservative blue dress. Pearls at her throat. Playing the part of the wronged wife. The misunderstood victim. Her lawyer asked about her marriage. Her family obligations. Her desperate circumstances. She cried on cue. Dabbed her eyes with tissues. I was just trying to help my parents. My husband was always working. Someone had to handle family emergencies. But Sarah Chen was ready for her. The cross-examination was surgical. Precise. Devastating. Sarah showed the jury Serena's credit card statements. Luxury purchases during every supposed emergency. She read the emails to Julian. The mocking messages about Michael's generosity. The jury's faces changed as they listened. Sympathy turned to disgust. Serena's mask slipped during the questioning. Her true nature leaked through. When Sarah asked about the Paris trip, Serena's voice turned sharp. I deserved a vacation. My husband never took me anywhere. Because he was working to pay for your family's fake emergencies. That's not my fault. Whose fault is it, Mrs. Hayes? The silence stretched forever. Serena had no answer. Victor's testimony was worse. He tried to play the confused elderly man. But Sarah had casino footage. Timestamped videos of his high-stakes gambling. She played them for the jury. Victor throwing around $1,000 chips while Michael worked midnight shifts. The contrast was damning, undeniable. Helen Lang barely testified at all. Her lawyer claimed she was too fragile to testify, but healthy enough to spend stolen money. The verdict came on a Friday afternoon. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Each hour felt like a year. When they returned, their faces were grim. Certain. The foreman stood. An older man with kind eyes. He reminded me of Harold. On the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud, we find the defendants guilty. On the charge of identity theft, we find the defendants guilty. On the charge of forgery, we find the defendants guilty. 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 Each word hit like a hammer blow. Justice finally served. Serena's face crumpled. Victor stared at the floor. Helen sobbed quietly. The judge set sentencing for the following month. Restitution hearings would follow. Outside the courthouse, Sarah Chen shook our hands. This was one of the clearest cases I've prosecuted. The evidence was overwhelming. What happens now? Michael asked. Now they pay. Literally and figuratively. The sentencing was swift. Professional. Final. Serena got 3 years in federal prison. Victor got 2 years. Helen got probation and community service. But the real victory was the restitution order. The judge ordered full repayment. $1,600,000 plus interest. Plus legal fees. Plus damages. The total came to over $2 million. Everything they owned would be sold to pay Michael back. The house auction was scheduled for the following month. I drove Michael to see it one last time. The palace where they had celebrated with his stolen money. A foreclosure sign sat on the manicured lawn. Red letters on white background. Auction Saturday. Cars crowded the street. Potential buyers. Bargain hunters. The curious. We didn't go inside. Michael couldn't bear to see it again. Instead, we sat in my Honda. Watching people stream through the front door. That house was built on lies, he said quietly. Not built. Paid for. There's a difference. The distinction mattered. The house itself was innocent. Just wood and brick and glass. The evil had lived in the people who bought it with stolen dreams. The auction lasted 4 hours. Bidding was aggressive. Competitive. The final price was impressive. $2,200,000. Enough to pay back everything. With money left over for Michael's legal fees. Sarah Chen called us that evening. Her voice was pleased, satisfied. The auction proceeds fully covered the judgment. After the roughly $2 million owed was paid, there remained an extra $200,000, a small additional compensation for what he had been through. It felt strange, being compensated for heartbreak. But money was practical, useful. It would help Michael restart his life. 2 weeks later the certified check arrived. $2,200,000, official seals and all. Michael held it like it might disappear. Like it might be another lie. It's real, I told him. It's over. Is it? Will it ever really be over? The legal part is over. The healing will take longer. He nodded. My wise, wounded son. We deposited the check together. Walked into the bank side by side. The teller was young, cheerful. She had no idea she was handling justice. Will there be anything else today? She asked. Michael looked at me. Something had changed in his face. Actually, yes. I'd like to open a new account. A fresh start account. He filled out the paperwork with steady hands. His signature strong, clear, not the shaky scrawl of a broken man. The firm writing of someone beginning again. Outside the bank, we stood in the afternoon sun. The first warm day of spring. What now? I asked. Now I find a smaller house. Something I can actually afford. Something honest. Yes, something honest. We walked to his car. He moved differently now, lighter, freer. The weight of lies had been lifted from his shoulders. The money was back in his accounts. The criminals were in prison. Justice had been served with mathematical precision. But the real victory was quieter, more personal. My son had learned to trust his instincts again, to value truth over comfort. He had lost a wife, but he had found himself. And sometimes that's the best trade you can make. The lawsuit was over, the money recovered, the house sold, but the real healing was just beginning. One honest day at a time. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. 2 years have passed since the trial. 2 years of watching my son rebuild his life from the foundation up. He moved into a small apartment near his office. 1 bedroom, clean lines, no pretense. The furniture was second-hand, practical, honest. A couch from the thrift store. A table from a yard sale. Dishes that didn't match. It looked nothing like the house he'd lost. It looked like home. I helped him choose everything. We shopped together on Saturday mornings. No rush. No pressure. Just a mother and son picking out towels and coffee mugs. Simple pleasures. The kind Serena never understood. Michael worked different hours now. 8 to 6. No more midnight shifts. He learned to say no to overtime. To choose life over ambition. The promotion he'd chased so desperately didn't matter anymore. Peace mattered more. We had dinner together every Sunday. My kitchen table. My mother's china. He would arrive at 5. Stay until dark. Sometimes longer. We talked about everything except the trial. That chapter was closed. Instead, we talked about his work. My garden. The books we were reading. Normal conversation between normal people. What a gift that was. Michael smiled more now. Real smiles. Not the tired expression he wore during the marriage. His laugh came easier. His shoulders sat straighter. The weight of deception was gone. He moved like a free man. One Sunday, he brought someone with him. A woman named Claire. She was quiet, kind. A librarian at the community college. They had met at a coffee shop. Started talking about books. The conversation lasted 3 hours. Claire knew about the trial. The betrayal. The theft. She didn't care. She saw who Michael was now. Not who he'd been when he was broken. I watched them together. The gentle way they spoke to each other. The comfortable silences. This was what love looked like. Honest. Patient. Undemanding. No emergencies. No crises. No desperate phone calls for money. Just 2 people enjoying each other's company. Building something real. Claire helped with dinner that first Sunday. She washed dishes without being asked. She listened to my stories about Michael as a child. Laughed at the embarrassing ones. When they left together, Michael kissed my cheek. His eyes were bright. I like her, I told him. I like her too, he said. A lot. They were married the following spring. Small ceremony. Simple vows. Michael wore his father's wedding ring. The one Harold had worn for 40 years. Claire wore her grandmother's dress. Altered to fit. Beautiful in its simplicity. I cried during the ceremony. Happy tears. Grateful tears. My son had found his way back to love. Real love this time. The reception was in my backyard. 30 people. Folding chairs. String lights. Carter Doyle came. Sarah Chen brought her husband. The neighbors who had testified. Everyone who had helped reveal the truth. Celebrating its victory. Michael gave a speech during dinner. His voice was steady, strong. He thanked everyone for their support, their friendship, their faith in justice. Then he looked at me, his eyes wet with emotion. He thanked me for seeing the truth when he couldn't, for fighting when he was too tired, for loving him enough to risk his anger, his disappointment, his initial disbelief. The applause was warm, heartfelt, but I barely heard it. I only heard my son. Grateful, healthy, whole again. Later, Claire pulled me aside. We stood by my rosebushes, the ones Harold planted decades ago. "Thank you for raising such a good man," she said. "Thank you for seeing his goodness," I replied. She promised to take care of him. I promised to give them space to grow. A mutual understanding, the kind that builds strong families. Michael and Claire bought a house 6 months later. Small, affordable, within their means. No mortgage games, no hidden debts. Everything transparent, everything honest. They painted the walls together, planted a garden, built bookshelves for Claire's collection. I visited often, brought cookies, helped with yard work, watched them create their life. It was ordinary, peaceful, everything Michael's first marriage had pretended to be. On quiet evenings, I would sit in my own kitchen. The same table where I'd spread Carter's evidence. The same chair where I'd made the decision to hire him. To seek the truth. Whiskers would purr in my lap. The house would settle around us. I would think about choices. About trust. About the price of willful blindness. Michael had paid dearly for his innocence. But he had survived. More than survived. He had learned. Grown. Become wiser without becoming bitter. The letters still came sometimes. From Serena in prison, asking for money, forgiveness, another chance. Michael threw them away unopened. He had nothing left to say to her. Victor had died in prison. His heart finally failing him. Too much stress. Too much guilt. Helen lived with her sister now. Quiet. Forgotten. Paying off her community service. The past was truly past. Buried with Victor. Locked away with Serena. Only the lessons remained. Only the wisdom earned through pain. Last month, Claire told us she was pregnant. A girl, due in October. Michael's face when he heard the news was radiant. Pure joy. Untainted by fear. He would be a good father. He understood now what family really meant. Not obligation. Not manipulation. Not endless demands for money. Love. Support. Honesty. The simple act of showing up. We started planning the nursery together. Claire, Michael, and me. 3 generations preparing for the 4th. Building something that would last. The baby will grow up in truth. In light. In a home built on bedrock instead of lies. She will know her father's story. But it won't define her future. She will learn from his mistakes without paying for them. The cycle breaks with her. I am 74 now. My hands shake sometimes. My back aches in the morning. But my heart is light. My conscience is clear. My son is safe. The truth I fought so hard to uncover has set us all free. Not just Michael. All of us. The whole family. We learned that love without honesty is not love at all. It's just expensive slavery. We learned that family means protecting each other from lies. Even painful ones. We learned that sometimes a mother's job is to break her child's heart to save his life. The hardest lesson, but the most important one. Tonight, as I write these words, my phone sits silent. No desperate calls, no fake emergencies, just peace, just truth, just love in its proper place. Michael is safe. Claire is happy. The baby is coming. The lies are buried. The liars are gone. And in the end, that's all any mother really wants. Her child, free and whole and surrounded by people who love him for who he is. Not for what he can give. Not for what he can do. Just for who he is. Finally, simply, completely, that's enough. That's everything.